Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Bernie Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward sons. I intend to talk about important topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe as we try to defend and protect America's middle class. So now, let's get started. I met George Gallagher several years ago. I was running for Congress in Maryland's 3rd District, and I just noticed that he and I had a lot of the same thoughts, and we quickly became friends. And I respect his quest to alert his fellow citizens over in Annapolis about the costly negative developments over in Anne Arundel County and the rest of the state. George, without me trying to explain who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you stand for?
Well, I am a biotechnology consultant. That's my day job. And in the past, I've been a planning commissioner for the city of Irvine, California, a few decades ago. Before that, I was a transportation and infrastructure commissioner. I've lived in and around Annapolis for over 20 years. And I've gotten involved in the city council and what's going on with planning and public safety and things like that. I'm a homeowner, I'm a father, and I've been very concerned about the particular activities this current city council has been engaged in, the lack of communication with the public, their missed opportunities for doing things correctly with public safety. And then the most important thing that I've been involved in is what they're doing with planning. And they're using planning as a weapon.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, man, I mean, you are an expert and people need to know who you are and what you stand for. And that's a good start, but we're going to keep you on here for a little while so you can talk a little bit more about the things that are going on. Now, let's see, you mentioned public safety. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Tell us a little bit about what you know and what you've heard.
Well, I've been tracking what's been going on since we got the new mayor in 2017 and a new council, and noticed that the focus was more on political virtue signaling and not focused on actually providing public safety. And so we had a perfectly good police chief who was gotten rid of and replaced by a political appointee to satisfy virtue signaling and political needs. But what has happened since then is we have constant shootings, stabbings, shots fired on a regular basis in the city of Annapolis. We have had an uptick in shootings and stabbings and shots fired and murders, especially the last 3 years. The public has come out and said, we do not have any confidence in the police chief and the leadership. The Capital Gazette did a poll a couple months ago where they asked, an online poll, and 85% of the people that responded said they had no confidence. To follow up what happened with that is about 2 or 3 weeks later, the police union had a vote of no confidence for the police chief and the leadership. So both the residents and the rank and file police officers agree there is a problem. And the problem is the type of leadership that we have at the mayor's position and the majority of the city council. They're not about doing the meat and potatoes things, fixing potholes, capital improvements, public safety, all of that. They're all about political virtue signaling. Now that's bad enough. But then comes into what has happened with planning and the Plan 2040s that came into effect in the last few years. Now, these Plan 2040s, they look like the comprehensive general plans that your mom and dad used to know, where every 10 years you do a comprehensive general plan update, you have forums, you take input from the community. They say, like, we need more parks, we need more ballparks, we need to have maybe more apartments here. And so you develop a plan with the city staff, the city council, and the community, and it's organically produced. But what's happening now and being rolled out across the entire United States in the last 2 or 3 years is these Plan 2040s. There's a Plan 2040 in the city of Annapolis. There's a Plan 2040 in the county of Anne Arundel County. But they're Plan 2040s across medium and small sized cities across the entire United States that were all rolled out in the spring of 2023. So nothing organic about that. When you dig deeper into it, what you find out is that these plans are being written by companies like Stantec. Now, Stantec is an international company, consulting firm that does urban planning. And they are award-winning and recognized by Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum. And what they're not comprehensive general plan updates. They are military operational plans. This is a military operation. This is a war against private property, small businesses, single-family homes, and automobiles. Because what they want to do is create these smart cities, 15-minute cities, prison cities, where the public is no longer in control of their private property through ordinances, through fines, through fees, through zoning changes. They are slowly creating a prison for the people that live in each of one of these cities. And this is all in line with what Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum are planning. Is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Because what they want to do is create kind of a crazy Marxist neo-feudal government structure. So what's happening is they're taking city councils that are supposed to be representing the residents and being, and then doing things like putting ballparks and roads. Instead, we have this top-down military operation coming from international organizations, from UN Agenda 2030, World Economic Forum, Smart Cities, 15-minute cities, and they're basically prison city programs because they want to take away your right to have an automobile. They want to take away your right to control your property. And when I started warning about this, when I first saw the draft of the Plan 2040 here in Annapolis a couple of years ago, it was hard for people to understand because nothing had happened. What I was saying was based on my knowledge as a planning commissioner and as a transportation and infrastructure commissioner, what I saw. First of all, I noticed that the plans were already pre-written by Stantec. And they were the same basic structure across 40 cities in the United States and cities in Europe, including Oxford, England, and other cities. So I said, wow, as being a former Air Force, serving in the Air Force, I realized this is not general planning. This is not a comprehensive plan update. This is a military operational playbook. Yeah. So this is what's going on. And now we're starting to see some of the evidence of my concerns. And that ties into some of the recent ordinances that have banned the use of plastic bags in our city. That just got rolled out. The banning of leaf blowers, which was strongly objected to by small businesses, primarily minority businesses, which supposedly this liberal virtue signaling city council cares about. But in reality, they don't, because they're rolling out a plan, a military top-down plan that they've been handed and told, if you want to be sitting on a city council or sitting on a county council as a Democrat, you better be part of this plan. And unfortunately, some rhino Republicans are involved in this too. They just go along with it. But some people are what, Lenin used to say, useful idiots. They don't realize what's happening. But some people are real believers. We have members on this council that are straight up Marxist, and they don't care what the public input is. And the extreme result is what happened after they banned the plastic bags, after they banned the leaf blowers with much pushback. And actually, the leaf blower ban got defeated at the county level. There was so much pushback. Even some of the Democrats on the county council rolled over and said, okay, uncle, we give. But the members of our city council are absolute zealots, and they pushed through that. But then they did something that nobody believed would happen. We have two council members that introduced a ban on drive-thrus for pharmacies, for banks, and for restaurants.
That's crazy.
That's what everybody said. It'll never happen. It's crazy.
How I'm speechless. You know, I read a couple of Klaus Schwab's books and I understand the threat. Got it. Why are people allowing this? I'm boiling with anger right now, to tell you the truth. I mean, imagine some 75-year-old lady who's driving up to the drive-through to go get money from the bank or get something from McDonald's or going to get a prescription. She's got to get out of the vehicle to do that. And why would we take away that convenience? I don't understand.
Well, this comes from the fact that this is part of this top-down plan to eliminate the automobile. So instead of saying, doing a positive action, if they were sincere about wanting to improve, the use of bikes and the ability to walk, these council members would have introduced bills to fund bike pass. No bills in the last 7 years by any of these council members who are green and, think the environment needs to be protected and people need to bicycle. There have been no bills to fund bike pass. There's no bills to improve walking pass. Everything's a prohibition. Prohibit plastic bags. And everybody said, well, that's inconvenient because the poor need the plastic bags, and they didn't care. Then came the leaf blower thing. They said, we had all these different minority businesses that said, this is tens of thousands of dollars. Electric leaf blowers, we can't work for hours. They're not functional. They're not feasible. It's only meant for like an individual blowing leaves out of their garden. We can't sustain our business. We will have to do all these capital costs. And there was an online poll where, a change.org poll. Everybody's saying, don't do it. It was defeated at the county level, but at the city level, they just pushed forward. They pushed past all the testimony and all the businesses that don't want it. The problem with our situation, with our Plan 2040, is that we had an election in 2000. We had election in 2021, and when that election happened, there was no discussion about general, Plan 2040. All of this stuff was unleashed a year after they got reelected. So this was all kept on the down low. And then they started rolling it out. They've gotten so arrogant and their hubris is so great that last year, November of 2023, we as the public were surprised to find out that a majority of our city council and planning staff were going to go on a trip to Netherlands, and they hadn't made it public. They hadn't put it in the newspaper, talked about it. It wasn't on the agenda. They were spending like $50,000. It wasn't even agendized.
Wow.
And somebody at City Hall was pulling a permit and overheard a conversation about a week before they were going on the trip. And, the wildfire of conversation throughout the community happened. And finally, a couple community leaders confronted a council member who was who was the chair of the finance committee. And she quickly sent out on a Wednesday a newsletter saying, oh yeah, this trip, and here's the funding, and here's they were flying out on Saturday.
George.
The Netherlands.
This sounds like communist, Marxist, drivel propaganda. I'm so angry. I don't want to say what's really on my mind. I'm trying to be nice here. But why are people so apathetic to allow this to get even that far?
Well, the problem is not apathy. When the people found out at the last minute that there was an uproar, there were multiple city council meetings after the fact where people testified, but they went ahead and did it anyway.
Wow.
And then they came back. Here's the worst part. They came back touting all the things they learned in socialist Netherlands. 2 weeks after they came back, the government of the Netherlands was turned over because farmers and conservatives in the Netherlands were absolutely fed up with these smart city, 15-minute city, prison city programs. But did that phase our city council? Oh, no. We had Alderman Savage and Alderman Channelmeyer, who came back from they're real hardcore socialist Marxists, smart city guys. They came back and told things that were not true about the Netherlands. For instance, they said the Netherlands doesn't allow drive-throughs. So that's why we're going to get rid of drive-throughs. And they do this and they do this. The only problem is there's a member of the community who lived in Brussels, Belgium for 7 years and worked in the Netherlands Monday through Friday for 2.5 years. That's me. I worked as a consultant in the Netherlands. And there are drive-through banks, drive-through fast food. They're drive-through everywhere. The way the Netherlands handles transportation is the way they should do it here, but do it in a truthful way. So they're saying, well, we want bike paths, we want this, but first we have to ban all these things. They don't do that in the Netherlands. The Netherlands has the best highway system in Europe. Their roads are immaculate, huge highways, beautiful. I drove on them. They have great road infrastructure. However, they integrate bicycle paths, walking paths. It's a complete integrated transportation program. But they don't ban anything. They don't stop you from driving a car. In fact, the Dutch love American products. They love Harleys. They love pickup trucks. So this kind of, skewed view of the Netherlands that these two gentlemen came back, they were lying to the public. They were lying to the public. So I got to the point where I went and testified, and I actually posted pictures of things you can Google, people going through drive-thrus at restaurants and banks in the Netherlands that were current. But did that faze them? They continue to say that lie about not having drive-thrus in the Netherlands, even today. Here's the worst part. What do? Like 9 months later, they plan a trip to Sweden. Not only does the city council go and the city staff, but county staff, Pittman's involved, Buckley's involved, council members involved, and they all go to Sweden to learn how to make Annapolis better. I'm like, look, Sweden's a disaster. It's got, all sorts of riots. They have no-go zones. Police can't go places. The Netherlands has had 2 elections since they went to the Netherlands where the Dutch people have thrown out their socialist smart city.
It doesn't work.
City. They are the canary in the coal mine. Oxford, England, they're having protests in the streets. They're rejecting the 15-minute city programs. But our city council, they're doubling down. So what happened as of Monday, ban on plastic bags, ban on leaf blowers, and ban on drive-thrus for pharmacies, banks, and restaurants. Boom.
George, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. You know that. Obviously, you feel strongly about it. There's some other of our friends that feel that way. But what can people, the regular average citizen in Annapolis, do to combat this craziness?
They need to go down to the city hall and see. A lot of this stuff happened, the initial part of it happened under the guise of COVID. So a lot of the groundwork for this was laid in 2021, 2022, when they still didn't have commission and committee meetings in person. They were Zoom meetings. A lot of the council meetings weren't in person. So they were doing all of this activity, building all this bureaucratic infrastructure to roll out this war plan, because it's a war plan. It's a war on private property. It's a war on the freedom of movement through. It's
a war on the middle class.
It's a war on the middle class. It's a war on the working class. It's a war on the poor. It's a elite Marxist neo-feudal system. And what's happening is City Hall, the city council, and the county councils are becoming our overlords. They want to control how you move around. They want to eliminate your ability to own a car, so you lose your freedom as an individual to move around. They want to control your property. They want to eliminate, in the city of Annapolis, we have 37% of the homes are single family homes, backyards,
Yeah.
fire pits, a grill,
Yeah.
trampolines, all that stuff.
Americana.
The American dream.
Yeah.
They want to eliminate that. They have a plan to slowly, over time, incrementally boil the frog. And that's what they're doing. They use that slow, methodical, method to slowly erode and take away. So they want to make it harder and harder to own a single family home, harder and harder to own an automobile, and to the point, because they see the long game, and they want to, in 1 or 2 decades, to make it rare to own an automobile, rare to have a single family home with a backyard. That's their goal, because they want to reinstate feudalism. So instead of having a king or a lord, your overlords are going to be your city council and your county council. And so people get very excited about national politics. Who's the president? Who's our senator? Who's the governor and all that? But the reality is the capital improvements that take care of your streets and sidewalks, the fees you pay for your water and sewer and your trash pickup, your property taxes, all the things that actually hit you the hardest, if you're a homeowner, if you're parents with children, is actually at the city council level and the county council level. That's what hits your pocketbook. That's what hits your daily life. And so too many people ignore that impact of the local elected official. Sometimes you'll see in elections, they don't even vote down ticket. They'll vote for the president. They'll vote for the senator, maybe the governor. But who's that council member? I like the person with that name, or they're the first person on the list. But those people actually matter more to your daily life.
There's an old saying, all politics are local.
It's all local.
There you go.
So when you get that everybody here just got their property tax bill in the month of December and got slammed.
Yeah,
everybody's water bill and utility bill in the city of Annapolis went up.
Yeah. And I don't know how we're going to be able to continue all these raises from not only your folks over in Annapolis, but in the county and also at the state level. Everything seems to be going up, but it's fees that the council controls. But I got another question for you, and this is along the same lines. I was reading somewhere about an electronic ferries program.
Here's the insult to injury. So the city of Annapolis has had the fastest growth of a city budget anywhere in Maryland. Wow. So our city budget under Buckley and this city council has gone up 85% in 7 years. 85%. Yes.
What?
Yeah. It's gone from $106 million to $191 million in 7 years. So we're getting slammed by this city council. They're spendaholics. They're out of control. The other thing is that if you look at like Hagerstown and Bowie and Laurel and all, if you look at these other cities, their cost per resident, if it is a portion of the budget, is between $2,500 and $2,800 per resident.
Right.
The city of Annapolis is at $4,700 per resident. Insane. Insane.
I can't think of the word to use here.
And how did they get there? Well, we have Mayor Buckley and Alderman Schandelmeyer and Alderman Arnett and Alderman Savage, who went on these trips and are hardcore socialists and want to do the smart city programs. So they are now putting in a $3 million ferry program to take people from downtown across to Eastport. You can walk across the bridge in 1 minute.
Yeah.
The whole town doesn't want this ferry program. They've done public surveys. Nobody wants it. There's no support for it, but the council wants it. The county executive want it because they're all part of the smart city virtue signaling, go electric. So here, what I found out last week was, I was watching a committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who's paying for the maintenance and the operating costs? We don't have it in the budget. So they've allocated $3 million to purchase these ferries and do this ferry program that moves nobody to nowhere. And they haven't put in the budget the operation and maintenance costs. So now it's an undetermined amount.
Yeah.
And then in that same meeting, they said, the deputy city manager said, and our deputy city manager was hired prior to the Plan 2040. And I couldn't really understand her role. I was like, why do we have this deputy city manager? We have a city manager, we have an assistant city manager. We're only 40,000 people here.
Yeah.
And then the deputy city manager they hired in November of 2020, who is a hardcore, very well-educated environmental attorney. It's like, that's interesting. And it was kind of a sliver in my mind. But then we come around to the spring of 2022, and she comes before an economic committee, environmental committee, and starts saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, how's she going to do this? Based on what plan, what mandate for this? And then a year later, Plan 2040. So she was hired as a placeholder to prepare for this battle plan. So I think she's a prison warden or a general, in this military operation, but she's a very hardcore environmentalist, like a Soviet minder.
Yeah.
She brings up the proposals. The council people have been told what to do. They do it. We've got NGOs coming in and involved in this trip to the Netherlands and Sweden. So we've got this situation where we have our taxes going out of control. My street here has been in front of my house has been on a capital improvement program for 25 years. They've painted the streets. I've been trying for 5 years to get the street fixed. It's the smallest street in Annapolis. It's still not done. But we're going to allocate the $3 million for the ferry. And in the same meeting, this actually lit my hair on fire, no pun intended. The deputy city manager said, by the way, good news. I've been having a conversation with the fire chief, and we've been, we're making headway in convincing them into buying a $2 million fire truck. And she goes, but they're reluctant because the regular cost for a standard fire truck, replacement is $980,000.
Yeah.
So then I look up the Western Fire Chiefs Association, and they have an entire write-up in this past year, all the problems with electric fire trucks.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stay on station. If you have a large fire there, with a diesel fire truck, you just keep on filling it up, and you can run pumps. You can, if you have a big industrial fire, but the fire trucks, the batteries go dead.
Yeah.
They're pressuring for virtue signaling to be in line with this Plan 2040, our fire department, into buying a substandard piece of equipment that is not up to the needs and demands. And even the Western Chiefs Fire Association has a whole write-up of this is why you don't buy an electric fire truck.
Makes no sense at all. But let me ask you another stupid question. It sounds like all these decisions are being made by unelected bureaucrats. What is wrong with this picture?
Well, what's happened is you've got, because of the political climate in Maryland is very poor. We have a lot of shenanigans with mail-in ballots. We have a lot of selections. People resign from positions instead of having special elections. We just had one council member selected, even though the council member that left and moved to another state, she knew as far back as last January that she was going to leave, and she didn't make it public. until the day after the deadline so they could get away with appointing somebody and not have a special election.
Wow.
We're looking at this whole week of people being appointed to positions in the House. It's happening today.
Yeah.
Democrats are going to appoint somebody to the House. We may have council members moving up, more select. So we in Annapolis have a political problem, and I call it selections, not elections. Democracy dies in Annapolis. I actually have a hashtag for it because there's a lot of manipulation. The council member that we have now was originally for Ward 5, Schandelmeyer, who's this Marxist zealot. He was originally appointed. So we have kind of this chain migration of appointing council members a year or two or a year before an election, so they have all the infrastructure, time to be on the council, and it makes it hard for a challenger because they become a de facto incumbent. And we have, like I said, it's a chain migration of county council and city council and House members, and the Democrats play this game beautifully here. And so we have a lot of trouble actually having a voice in our city. That's why I just said, somebody's got to say something.
Yeah.
So I just started speaking up. Let's stand on a soapbox in front of the supermarket and talk about it.
Well, this doesn't sound like democracy to me. This sounds like a perverted, bizarro form of democracy. But the sad thing is most people are too apathetic to do anything about it. And I got to applaud you because, you have been that guy as long as I've known you. And, you don't waver, you don't back down. And there's a few people like you that are around in the area, in the state. And, we're not all conservatives, but we should be. And we should be getting the dollars that we're putting into our tax system. It should be coming back to us in the form of good government. And if it's not, we should be raising a ruckus, just like you're doing. So I got to applaud you, brother. But here's the deal. I've kept you on this thing a long time, and I just want to give you an opportunity to say whatever is on your mind. Just right now, the floor is yours.
Okay.
So go ahead.
This situation with the Plan 2040 and the actual tactical rollout of it with these three ordinances, the ban on plastic bags, the ban on leaf blowers, and the ban on drive-throughs, has gotten to the point where it's actually gone too far for traditional Democrats on our city council. So what happened on December 9th of this past month was the three Democrat women on the city council voted against the ban on the drive-throughs. Mm-hmm. And they warned the men on our council. I don't know why the men on our council are so Marxist socialists. Maybe they're younger, they're more zealotry. I think the women are their moms, their grandmas, they're a little more sensitive and listen to the feedback. Because we had 2 months of testimony, 2 full months at city council meetings, at committees, at commissions, of the entire community saying, don't do the ban on drive-throughs. So the three women on the council voted no. One of them said, the CEO of Walgreens is shutting down Walgreens because of costs and all that. But it's also because there were 4 major things they need at their Walgreens to make them profitable. And one of the key things was drive-throughs. Yeah. And so Alderman Pindell Charles, she brought that up. Unfortunately, Alderman Schandelmeyer piped up and said, oh, that's not true. And it was 100% true. So he tried to make fun of her. He was very condescending and was disrespectful to a senior councilwoman who was stating the truth. And I went and looked at the article and go, yep, he said that. We need drive-throughs. And then Alderwoman Finlinson, she stated something very strongly to the other council members who voted for the ban on the drive-throughs. She said, this smacks of discrimination against seniors, folks with disabilities, and parents with children. Wow. So what's happening is now you're starting to see how harmful these Plan 2040s are, because like I said earlier, they're military operation. They are top-down operations to take away your right to control your life and transfer the control of your private property, your means of mobility to a city council or county council. And it's gotten so far that even traditional Democrats, like these three women, have realized, oh wow, this is going too far.
Yeah.
But the worst thing is this is just the beginning. Because at the state level, they're already putting out guidances and taking feedback, and I answered it. They're going to start dictating how you heat your home. They're not going to allow you to heat your home with natural gas, oil, and then the next thing is they're going to come after your gas stove, your oil heat, your fire pit, your propane grill in the back. They're going to tell you how much water you can use in your garden. It won't stop until we stop them. So that's why I'm speaking up, because we all know that Marxism and socialism always leads to ruin.
Yeah,
everywhere it's been done. The Soviet Union, you see the misery in China, what happened in Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge, what's the devastation in Venezuela. Anytime socialism, Marxism gets into play, it destroys a community, it destroys a society. And the Plan 2040s are a Trojan horse. This is how, in this kind of boring general plan update, the public kind of goes, oh yeah, that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. This is the Plan 2040s, these general plan updates are the Trojan horse to install at a fundamental level socialism, Marxism. That's what they are.
Man, I tell you, it's ironic, and I got so many questions for you. We're going to have you back on here because I've been fighting communists and socialists my whole life. That's kind of what I'm here for. And we got a lot to talk about. But today, I noticed that they gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to George Soros, of all people. George Soros and Hillary Clinton, the probably biggest advocates of all this 15-minute city stuff in the entire United States. And, how do you feel about that? And wow, I'm just angry, to tell you the truth. But how do you feel about
George Soros, has his Open Society Foundation, which fundamentally doesn't believe in borders and governments and nation states. But what does that really mean? Because ultimately, our constitutional republic is a governmental design to protect individual sovereignty, individual rights. So that's he doesn't want to just get rid of borders and nation states and national sovereignty. He is instituting the elimination of personal sovereignty, collectivism, where you become part of a mob, part of a blob. You lose that individual liberty to go and put your hands in the soil and create something, or create your small business, or build your American dream, because they ultimately are tyrants.
Yeah,
that's what they are. They're tyrants. They want to control you. They want power. They're sociopaths or psychopaths. They've always existed. That's why we had a Revolutionary War. And basically, we're at a point right now where we need, and you can see with our elections what's going on in England and with other governments and
the Netherlands and France.
We're experiencing a 1776 2.0 because we're recognizing the tyrants like Hillary Clinton and Klaus Schwab and George Soros and the people like Macron in France and the different
Trudeau in Canada.
Yeah, Trudeau in Canada. These tyrannical leaders they're taking away the rights of people's ability to move.
Yeah.
And to own. These are fundamental rights going back to John Locke and John Stuart Mills and all the Magna Carta and all of the Western jurisprudence that is developed the rights of individuals to pursue happiness and pursue their own lives and pursue what they dream about. And they're trying to reverse all that. And
I think something that you and I talked about a while back, or the last time I saw you physically, was the term neo-feudalism is kind of where they're trying to go. And I tell you, man, it's just boils my cookies. And I know you feel exactly the same way. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just sitting over here, just temperatures just rising because I'm so angry. But
well, I get pretty hot. I'm in the car by myself and I'll be listening because I'll watch some of these YouTube live streams of a commission meeting where they say, we're going to ban this, or we're going to eliminate that, or we're not going to allow this, or we're going to take a small business's right away to do something, or private property rights away through an ordinance. It all seems very innocuous, but it's very tyrannical.
yeah,
it's very forceful. And it's, as a military, as a former colonel, and and me as a former member of the military, we can see a military operation when we see it.
Oh yeah.
This isn't a civilian operation. It's disguised as one, but it isn't.
Well, I see the insidious nature of it, and I believe in fighting it. And I know you're out on the front lines doing what needs to be done. Man, you've given us so much information today, and I just hope some new people will see this and understand what's going on over there and stop it in its tracks. And I just appreciate you. But let's talk about how people can reach you if they want to know more about what you're doing and what's happening in Annapolis.
Well, in Annapolis, we have a lot of public forums, the Annapolis Neighborhood Forum, the Eastport Forum, but all of them have restricted any of this type of dialogue, this free dialogue about how oppressive our government is, especially at our city, the wasteful spending, the crazy ordinances, the Capital Gazette, the Patch, even the Eye on Annapolis. They're reluctant to really weigh in a strong way about what's going on. So what's happened is that there's a forum called Eastport Forum Uncensored, where everything I'm talking about is being posted by myself and other like-minded community members. And it's not just talking about Annapolis, it talks about the county too, because we're gravitating towards where we can post like, hey, there's this leaf blower ban, or there's this ordinance, or they're trying to do this, or they're trying to restrict that, or we have a council member who's getting appointed to this. So that's where I'm posting, and many of like-minded people who want freedom, who want private property rights, who want public safety to be addressed, we're posting at that particular forum. So if you want to see what's going on in Annapolis and in the county, go to this particular forum. You'll see all my posts. You'll see friends of mine post. You'll see a lot of political activities. And then if they want to email me, they can email me. You can share my email with them on your podcast or on your posting.
All right, we'll make sure we get it out there. But the bottom line here is the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And you are on it, and I'm proud to be a friend of yours, and I'm proud to be friends with you. And, whenever you want to come back on here and talk about this kind of stuff, just give me a shout and we'll get you on. So just thanks for all that you're doing, and just keep up the good work, and know that there's people out here that are following you, and we're ready for the fight. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much, Bertie. Appreciate it.
Amen. Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Fallback Productions and Veterans for America First. Please like, share, and subscribe as we try to grow the channel and protect America's middle class. Be sure to get your copy of my book, Black Values Matter, available as an ebook on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. And also, remember, it's okay to disagree. But if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility for ourselves and for our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. We'll see you next week.